The massive screens in the Galactic Council chamber displayed Earth in all its blue and green glory. The planet spun slowly in the holographic display, clouds swirling across its surface, while lightning storms flickered across several continents. The assembled alien representatives leaned forward in their seats, many of them shaking their heads in disbelief. "This can't be right," said First Speaker Gray, his crystalline form catching the light. "You're telling me they evolved on this planet? With that gravity? Those weather patterns?" He gestured at the readouts scrolling beside the image. "The atmospheric pressure alone should have crushed them." Second Speaker White nodded in agreement. "The seasonal temperature variations are extreme, and the number of predatory species." She paused, checking the data again. "They evolved while being hunted by thousands of different creatures." The survey team leader, Observer Green, stepped forward. His report had caused quite a stir among the council members. "That's correct. And not only did they survive, they became the dominant species. They've achieved spaceflight, though their technology is—" He searched for a diplomatic word, "developing." The council chamber buzzed with murmurs. Most species gained intelligence in stable environments, developing technology before facing major challenges. These humans had done everything backward, forcing their way up the evolutionary ladder while fighting their own planet. The main doors slid open with a soft hiss. The room fell silent as Ambassador Reed walked in, his simple black suit standing out among the elaborate robes and biomechanical enhancements of the council members. He moved with the easy confidence of someone used to Earth's higher gravity, making his steps appear almost graceful in the lower gravity of the council chamber. First Speaker Gray's voice carried a hint of condescension. "Ambassador Reed, welcome to the Galactic Council. We've been reviewing the data about your world. It's quite interesting." Reed smiled, recognizing the tone. He'd been briefed about this. Most council species saw humans as primitive upstarts. "Thank you for having me. Earth is indeed interesting. We have a saying, 'What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.' Our planet tried very hard to kill us, and we grew stronger for it." "Yes, well," Second Speaker White interjected, "we're here to help guide developing species. Your technology is quite basic compared to council standards. For instance, your ships still use chemical propulsion for atmospheric exit." Reed nodded, maintaining his smile. "Among other methods, we find it reliable. When you evolve on a world that regularly tries to kill you, you learn to appreciate reliable things." Observer Green brought up new images on the screens: human cities, vehicles, and spacecraft. "As you can see, their technology is functional but crude. They still use projectile weapons in their military, and their medical science relies heavily on surgical intervention rather than genetic optimization." Reed watched the council members' reactions. Their expressions showed a mixture of pity and superiority that he'd been warned about. They saw humans as primitive creatures who needed guidance. They didn't understand that Earth's harshness had forged humanity into something unique. "We welcome the Council's guidance," Reed said carefully, "but we'd also like to offer our own experiences. Surviving on Earth has taught us many things that might be valuable to the galaxy." First Speaker Gray waved his hand dismissively. Yes, all species have their little contributions to make. For now, let's focus on bringing you up to proper council standards. We'll need to evaluate your civilization's development level and assign you an appropriate technological guidance program." Reed's smile didn't waver, but his eyes hardened slightly. He thought about the classified reports back home, the defense fleet hidden in the asteroid belt, the weapons systems that combined primitive kinetic force with cutting-edge technology, the survival techniques that had kept humanity alive on their death world. The Council saw humans as simple creatures needing help. They didn't understand that Earth's challenges had created a species that was anything but simple. "Of course," Reed replied politely. "We look forward to learning from the Council's wisdom." He left unsaid what many on Earth already knew. Sometimes the oldest solutions were the best ones, and sometimes the harshest teachers created the strongest students. The galaxy would learn this eventually. whether they wanted to or not. 3 months after Earth joined the Galactic Council, Ambassador Reed stood before the emergency session, his face grim. The holographic displays behind him showed strange energy patterns at the galaxy's edge, wavering lines and distorted spaces that seemed to bend reality itself. These readings come from our deep space monitoring stations, Reed explained, pointing to the patterns. We've detected these anomalies in multiple sectors, all showing the same unusual characteristics. First Speaker Gray's crystalline form flickered with annoyance. Ambassador, you've called an emergency session over sensor ghosts. Our advanced systems show nothing unusual in those sectors. With respect, Reed pressed on. Earth's detection systems are different from yours. We developed them to work in extreme conditions, to detect threats through storms, underwater, and in unusual gravity fields. Second Speaker White let out a sound like tinkling bells, their species equivalent of laughter. Are you suggesting your primitive sensors are better than our quantum scanning network? The council chamber filled with similar sounds of amusement. Only Captain Marcus of the Human Defense Fleet, standing quietly at the back of the room, maintained a serious expression. He'd seen the raw data himself, and it matched too perfectly with theoretical models of space-time distortions. Reed loaded another image, this one showing historical data. 6 months ago, we detected similar patterns near the Horsehead Nebula. They were dismissed as sensor errors. 2 months later, 3 mining outposts in that region went dark. No distress calls, no debris, nothing. Coincidence, Observer Green declared. Those outposts were in a notoriously unstable region. Most likely, they suffered equipment failures. All 3 at once. Reed questioned. And what about the trading post that vanished last week? Or the research station that lost contact yesterday? Each disappearance was preceded by these same energy patterns. First Speaker Gray raised a crystalline appendage, cutting off further discussion. Ambassador Reed, while we appreciate Earth's enthusiasm in galactic affairs, you must understand that the Council has maintained peace and security for 10,000 years. If there was a real threat, our systems would have detected it. In the back of the room, Captain Marcus quietly activated his personal communicator, sending encrypted orders to Earth's defense fleet. Unlike the Council, he knew why Earth's detection systems were different. They weren't more primitive. They were more versatile, designed to work even when traditional sensors failed. Reed tried one last time. The patterns match our theoretical models for dimensional rifts. If something is crossing between realities, traditional sensors might not. Enough. First Speaker Gray's voice carried the full authority of his position. This session was called on emergency protocols. Since no emergency exists, we will adjourn. Ambassador Reed, in the future, please consult with our scientific experts before raising such alarms. As the council members filed out, many still making sounds of amusement, Captain Marcus approached Reed. They're not going to listen, are they? He asked quietly. Reed shook his head. No. They think we're paranoid primitives, jumping at shadows. He looked at the energy pattern displays, still showing their warning signs. How long until the fleet is ready? 2 weeks, Marcus replied. We're retrofitting all ships with the new detection systems. The Council might not believe in shadows, but we learned on Earth that sometimes the shadows bite. They both stared at the displays, watching the strange patterns grow slowly stronger. On Earth, humans had learned hard lessons about ignoring warnings. Their planet had taught them that survival meant paying attention to every sign, every change, every possibility. The Council saw this as primitive paranoia. They would learn differently soon enough. As they left the chamber, Reed thought about humanity's history. They had survived ice ages, predators, natural disasters, and their own wars. They had learned to watch, to prepare, to adapt. The Council thought this made humans backward. They didn't understand that on Earth, being primitive meant being ready for anything. The shadows at the galaxy's edge grew deeper. and only humanity was watching them. The Council's emergency alarm finally sounded 3 weeks after they dismissed Earth's warning. The massive display in the central chamber showed dozens of ships vanishing from the quantum tracking network. Not destroyed, just gone, as if they'd never existed. Captain Marcus stood at the Earth Defense Fleet's command center, watching identical readings on his own screens. But his ship's sensors, designed to work in Earth's violent storms and magnetic disturbances, showed something more: shadowy shapes moving through normal space, barely visible to their multi-spectrum scanners. "All ships, activate backup detection systems," he ordered. "Switch to Earth standard targeting protocols." The fleet had prepared for this, fitting their ships with modified versions of the same tracking systems they'd used to detect predators through Earth's deepest oceans. First Speaker Gray's panicked voice came through the emergency channel. "This is impossible. Our sensors show nothing, but ships are disappearing. Entire stations are going dark." Marcus watched as his fleet's screens showed what the Council's advanced technology couldn't see: creatures that existed partially in normal space and partially in another dimension. They moved like ocean predators, silent and deadly, sliding between realities as easily as Earth's sharks move through water. "This is Earth Defense Fleet," Marcus responded. "We have visual confirmation of the threat. Transmitting sensor data now." He sent the modified scans to the Council chamber, showing the true scope of the invasion. The Council chamber erupted in chaos as the images appeared. The beings were massive, their forms shifting between solid matter and energy, leaving reality-bending distortions in their wake. Traditional sensors couldn't track them because they were never fully in one dimension. "Impossible." Second Speaker White's voice shook. "How can your primitive technology see them when ours cannot?" "Because we learned to see through storms," Marcus replied calmly, even as his fleet moved into defensive positions. "We learned to track things that hide, to find dangers in places where normal sensors fail. Earth taught us that survival means looking everywhere, even in impossible places." The first real battle started near a Council colony world. The dimensional creatures attacked with devastating force, ignoring the colony's advanced shields as if they weren't there. The Council's defensive fleet fired blindly, their weapons passing harmlessly through targets they couldn't properly detect. But the Earth ships could see. Their modified sensors tracked the creatures through both dimensions. And their weapons, a mix of energy beams and physical projectiles, were designed to hit targets even when they partially phased out of normal space. "All ships, fire at will," Marcus ordered. "Aim for the points where they phase back into our reality. Just like hunting octopi in Earth's deep oceans, hit them when they have to become solid." The Earth fleet's first volley struck true. The dimensional beings, used to being invisible and untouchable, reeled in surprise as Earth's weapons found their mark. Physical projectiles tore through their solid forms, while energy beams disrupted their dimensional shifting. In the Council chamber, the alien representatives watched in stunned silence as humanity's primitive technology proved to be their salvation. Earth's experience with hunting hidden predators, tracking storms, and surviving the impossible had created exactly the right tools for this fight. "How?" First Speaker Gray asked, his crystalline form trembling. "How did you know how to fight them?" "Because Earth is a world of hidden dangers," Marcus answered, directing his fleet to protect the colony. "We learned long ago that the most deadly threats aren't always the ones you can see clearly. Sometimes survival means being ready for the impossible." As the battle continued, the Council began to understand. Humanity's harsh evolution hadn't made them primitive, it had made them prepared. Their death world hadn't limited their development, it had taught them to survive anything, even threats from beyond normal space. 1 week after the first battle, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. Gone were the elegant decorations and floating displays of art. Instead, the walls showed battle maps and casualty reports. First Speaker Gray's crystalline form had lost its shine, dulled by stress and fear. "We've lost contact with 37 more worlds," he announced, his voice heavy. "Our fleets can't track them. Our weapons can't hurt them. We need—" He paused, as if the words pained him. "We need Earth's help." Ambassador Reeves stood before the council, no longer treated with condescension. Behind him, Captain Marcus studied the battle maps, already planning strategies. The council members who had once laughed at Earth's primitive ways now watched them with desperate hope. "Our largest shipyards are at your disposal," Second Speaker White offered. "We can upgrade your vessels with our most advanced technology." Marcus shook his head. "Keep your upgrades. We need those shipyards to build more of our own weapons, the same ones you called primitive last month." He pointed to a cluster of red dots on the map. "These colonies are next. The creatures follow the same hunting patterns as deep-sea predators on Earth." "Hunting patterns?" Observer Green asked. "You mean these attacks aren't random?" "Nothing about hunting is random," Marcus explained. "These beings are predators, just like the ones we evolved alongside. They're following the same rules: attacking the weak, establishing hunting territories, moving along energy currents just like ocean predators follow water currents." The council members exchanged confused looks. Their species had evolved in safer environments, developing technology to solve their problems. They had never needed to understand the mind of a predator. "Tell us what you need," First Speaker Gray said. "Whatever resources you require are yours." Reed activated a holographic display showing Earth's combat tactics. "First, we need to teach your people how to fight. Not just how to use weapons, how to think like warriors. Your ships have better technology, but your crews don't understand combat." "We've been at peace for 10,000 years, Second Speaker White protested. "And we've been fighting to survive for 200,000 years, Reed replied. "That's what you never understood. Every human knows combat basics. Not because we want to fight, but because Earth taught us we need to be ready for anything." Marcus highlighted several sectors on the map. "We'll establish defense lines here, here, and here, just like protecting tribal territories against predators. We'll need your fastest ships retrofitted with our sensors and weapons." "But our ships are far more advanced than yours," Observer Green said. "Surely we should focus on upgrading your vessels instead." "Advanced doesn't mean better," Marcus explained patiently. "Your ships are perfect for peaceful times. Ours are built to fight in dust storms, magnetic interference, and heavy gravity. We need ships that work when things go wrong, not ships that only work when everything is perfect." The council chamber fell silent as this truth sank in. Their 10,000 years of peace had made them forget something humanity had never been allowed to forget. Survival isn't about having the best tools. It's about having the right tools and knowing how to use them. "How long?" First Speaker Gray asked. "How long to prepare our forces?" 2 weeks to modify the first wave of ships," Marcus answered. 1 month to train their crews in basic combat. 3 months to establish a proper defense line. He looked at the casualty reports. "If we're lucky, we have that much time. If not, we'll do what humans always do. We'll adapt and survive." The council members nodded, finally understanding that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their experience with survival itself. The massive hangar doors of Earth's hidden asteroid base slid open, revealing what humanity had kept secret from the council. First Speaker Gray's crystalline form trembled at the sight. Beside him, Second Speaker White made a sound of pure shock. "This is impossible," Observer Green whispered. "You had all this hidden." Captain Marcus smiled as hundreds of warships emerged from the asteroid belt. Each vessel was built using lessons learned from Earth's harshest environments. Some were shaped like deep-sea creatures, designed to operate in crushing pressures. Others resembled desert insects, made to survive extreme heat and cold. "We call this the Guardian Fleet," Marcus explained. "While you saw our regular ships, these were kept in reserve. Every ship is built to work in conditions that would destroy normal vessels." The council representatives watched as the fleet demonstrated their capabilities. Ships dove through the sun's corona, using the plasma for cover. Others hid in gas giant storms, their hulls designed to withstand forces that would tear normal ships apart. But your technology level? Second Speaker White protested. Our scans showed nothing this advanced. Ambassador Reed stepped forward. We learned on Earth that sometimes the simplest solutions work best. These ships combine basic principles with advanced technology, like using regular gunpowder to launch plasma weapons or using water as radiation shielding. The fleet's flagship, Thunderchild, moved into position. Its hull was covered in scales like a fish, each one containing sensors and armor adapted from the creatures that once hunted humans on Earth. The weapons systems combined physical ammunition with energy beams, able to switch between them as needed. Watch this, Marcus said, signaling the fleet. Battle Formation Delta. The Wolf Pack. The ships moved in patterns that confused the council members but would have been familiar to Earth's ancient hunters. Some ships acted as beaters, driving targets toward others waiting in ambush. The formation looked chaotic, but followed hunting patterns perfected over thousands of years. How did you develop all this? First Speaker Gray asked. We took everything Earth taught us, Reed explained. The way sharks hunt in groups, how wolves coordinate their attacks, how ants defend their colonies. Every lesson our world taught us went into these ships. The demonstration continued as the fleet showed more of their capabilities. Ships that could burrow through asteroids like Earth's desert creatures. Communication systems that worked like whale songs, carrying messages through impossible conditions. Armor designed like tree bark, able to repair itself using principles learned from Earth's forests. And your weapons? Observer Green asked, watching as the fleet demonstrated their firepower. Simple but effective, Marcus replied. Physical rounds filled with energy plasma. If the energy doesn't get through, the physical impact will. We learned from Earth's thunderstorms. Sometimes you need lightning. Sometimes you need rain. Sometimes you need both. The council members watched in silence as humanity revealed more of their true strength. Ships that could fight in any environment. Weapons that combined ancient principles with new technology. Tactics learned from Earth's predators and prey alike. Why didn't you show us this before? First Speaker Gray asked finally. Reed smiled sadly. Would you have understood? You saw Earth as a primitive world that needed guidance. You wouldn't have believed that our harsh evolution gave us exactly what we needed to fight this war. As the fleet moved into defensive positions around the solar system, the Council finally understood. Humanity hadn't survived Earth's challenges by accident. They had taken every lesson, every hardship, every fight for survival, and turned them into strength. Their ships weren't just vessels. They were the culmination of everything Earth had taught them about surviving the impossible. The Guardian fleet spread out among the stars, ready to protect the galaxy using knowledge earned through millions of years of evolution on a world that had never stopped trying to kill them. Admiral Stone stood at the command center of Thunderchild, watching as the combined fleet prepared for humanity's first major counterattack. The dimensional beings had taken control of 3 major sectors, but they were about to learn why Earth's predators feared humans more than anything else. All ships, this is Admiral Stone. She broadcast to the mixed fleet of human and council vessels. Today we hunt. Remember your training. Remember what Earth taught us about being both predator and prey. The Council's ships now carried modified sensors and weapons based on Earth's designs. Their crews had spent weeks learning from human instructors, understanding how to think like hunters rather than peacekeepers. Battle Formation Sigma, Stone ordered, just like tracking herds through the ancient grasslands. Drive them where we want them to go. The fleet moved with practiced precision. Faster Council ships, now equipped with Earth's multi-spectrum sensors, acted as scouts. They probed the dimensional rifts, looking for signs of movement just as ancient humans had looked for tracks in the wild. Contact. A Council ship reported. 3 large entities emerging from dimensional space. Stone smiled grimly. Exactly where we predicted. They're following the energy currents, just like sea creatures following ocean currents. Spring the trap. The Guardian fleet emerged from hiding places throughout the sector. Some ships had buried themselves in asteroids, like ambush predators hiding in rocks. Others had drifted with their systems nearly shut down, mimicking the hunting techniques of deep-sea creatures. All ships, attack pattern Delta. Stone commanded. Remember your training. Hit them when they phase into our reality. Don't let them establish a pattern. The dimensional beings, used to being the hunters, suddenly found themselves being hunted. Human ships struck from impossible angles, their weapons hitting targets that should have been safely hidden between dimensions. Council ships, now fighting with human tactics, supported the attack with perfectly timed strikes. They're trying to regroup, called out Captain Marcus from his position leading the flanking force. Just like a wolf pack when the prey fights back. Cut them off from each other. The fleet moved with coordinated chaos, a style of fighting that looked random but followed patterns learned from Earth's predators. Some ships acted as distractions, drawing attention like birds protecting their nests. Others struck hard and fast before disappearing, using guerrilla tactics perfected by human warriors. They're retreating. A council ship reported with excitement. No, Stone corrected. They're running. There's a difference. Pursuing fleet, engage. Don't let them escape to warn the others. The dimensional beings tried to flee through their rifts, but Earth's ships had predicted this. Special weapons, designed to disrupt dimensional travel, forced them to stay and fight. It was a trick learned from hunting animals near their burrows. Block the escape route, force a confrontation. The battle lasted hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The dimensional beings, for all their power, had never faced an enemy that understood hunting and fighting on such a fundamental level. They had never encountered a species that had evolved as both predator and prey. When it was over, First Speaker Gray's voice came through the command channel. Admiral Stone, that was incredible. Your tactics, your coordination, how did you make our ships fight so effectively? We didn't make them fight, Stone replied, already planning the next attack. We taught them to hunt. There's a difference. Fighting is about strength. Hunting is about understanding your target, predicting their moves, using their instincts against them. As the fleet regrouped and prepared to liberate the next sector, the Council finally understood the true lesson. Humanity hadn't just survived Earth's challenges. They had learned from every predator, every prey animal, every battle for survival. They had turned their harsh evolution into a weapon that even dimensional beings couldn't overcome. 3 months after the first counterattack, the Galactic Council chamber was packed for a historic session. The walls displayed maps showing the dimensional beings in retreat, pushed back by the combined fleet using Earth's tactics. At the center of the chamber stood Admiral Stone, Ambassador Reed, and Captain Marcus, the humans who had helped save the galaxy. First Speaker Gray's crystalline form glowed with renewed energy as he addressed the chamber. Today, we formally recognize Earth as a full member of the Galactic Council, with all rights and privileges. More than that, we acknowledge our mistake in judging their civilization as primitive. The chamber erupted in sounds of agreement. Council members who had once looked down on humans now stood in respect. The same primitive methods they had dismissed had proven to be their salvation. Furthermore, Second Speaker White announced, Earth will lead the new Galactic Defense Force. Their experience in survival and combat is unmatched in known space. Admiral Stone stepped forward. We accept this responsibility, but with one condition. She gestured to the battle displays. The galaxy must never again mistake peace for safety. Every species must maintain their survival skills, their fighting spirit, their connection to their evolutionary past. Observer Green, who had once dismissed Earth's warnings, nodded in agreement. We have already begun implementing Earth's training programs. Our young now learn not just technology, but survival skills. Not just science, but strategy. Not just peace, but preparedness. Reed smiled as he watched the council members discuss the changes. Emergency shelters were being built into every colony, designed using principles learned from Earth's burrowing animals. Ships were being modified to work in extreme conditions, not just ideal ones. Species that had relied purely on technology were learning the value of instinct and adaptation. "Tell us," First Speaker Gray asked, "how did you know you would succeed?" The dimensional beings were so powerful, so advanced. Captain Marcus stepped forward. "Because Earth taught us that power isn't everything." Those beings were stronger, yes, but they had never needed to adapt, to change, to overcome. They had never been both predator and prey. Like the ancient mammals on Earth, Stone added, small, seemingly weak creatures that survived while the mighty dinosaurs died out. They survived because they could adapt, hide, fight, run, or hunt as needed. That's humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not our weapons or tactics, but our understanding of survival itself. The chamber's displays showed the new defense plans. Bases hidden in asteroid fields, using techniques learned from Earth's camouflaged predators. Communication systems that worked like whale songs, carrying messages through impossible conditions. Training programs that taught not just how to use weapons, but how to think like both hunter and hunted. And what of the dimensional beings? Second Speaker White asked. Could they return? They might, Reed answered honestly. But we'll be ready. Not just humans this time, but all of us. The galaxy has remembered something it had forgotten. Survival requires more than technology. It requires instinct, adaptation, and the willingness to learn from every experience, even the painful ones. As the session ended, First Speaker Gray approached the human representatives privately. "We owe you an apology," he said. "We thought your harsh evolution made you primitive. We didn't understand that it made you strong." Stone smiled. "The strongest metal is forged in the hottest fire," she replied. "Earth forged humanity in fires hot enough to burn away everything. But what truly mattered? Our will to survive, our ability to adapt, and our drive to protect others. The galaxy had changed. The Council's 10,000 years of peace had been protected by humanity's 200,000 years of survival experience. They had learned that true civilization wasn't about forgetting your past, but about using every lesson, every struggle, every triumph to build a better future. Earth's primitive world had created exactly what the galaxy needed, a species that never stopped learning, never stopped adapting, and never forgot that survival was the first law of existence.